We're supposed to be celebrating them. Somehow it's supposed to be empowering because not enough women have gone up into space. What we mean is not enough are astronauts. Not enough women are astronauts. That's what we mean. We don't mean please put Gayle King in yet another opportunity for her to try to act like a star while she's next to Oprah, who also was there, of course.
Katy Perry was expecting the spotlight. She got it, but not in the way she ever wanted. The whole world was about to see her fall apart live on TV, not because of a technical glitch or a wardrobe fail, but because Megyn Kelly, one of the sharpest tongues on television, called her out and left her stunned in front of millions. What started as a celebration of Katy's space princess mission instantly turned into one of the most humiliating moments of her career. It all began with Katy Perry's big, historic trip to space. She put on a shiny designer spacesuit, climbed aboard Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin rocket, and acted like she was making history for all women everywhere. She wanted applause, headlines, and for people to see her as a new feminist icon. But within minutes of landing back on Earth, the tone changed. Critics were circling, the internet was already buzzing, and then Megyn Kelly came in and finished what everyone else started.
I don't feel empowered. This is like another, it's female White House press corps day at the White House. Remember I told you this during Obama? They were like, it's female empowerment day or whatever. And they invited a bunch of women, including yours truly and some people from Fox, to go over there and interview the president. And I was like, no.
On live TV, Megyn Kelly didn't just question Katy's so-called achievement, she shredded it. With each word, you could feel Katy's confidence slipping away. Megyn asked why Katy was getting so much praise for a space ride that lasted less than the time it takes to finish a sitcom. Megyn said real astronauts train for years, risk their lives, and do actual science. All Katy did was float around for 11 minutes, snap a few selfies, and gush about how empowered she felt. Megyn's words hit like a hammer. She said, "Let's not pretend a luxury trip above the clouds is the same as landing on the moon." She accused Katy of selling a shallow, PR-driven fantasy and called out the emptiness behind the glittery headlines. For a split second, Katy tried to defend herself. She talked about making space for women, how she was so proud of what she'd done, and how it would inspire young girls everywhere. But the audience wasn't buying it, and neither was Megyn. You could see Katy's mask slip. Her smile faded and her voice cracked. The meltdown wasn't loud, but it was obvious. She tried to recover, repeating her talking points, but every word sounded emptier than the last. Meanwhile, Megyn just raised an eyebrow and let the silence fill the air. The message was clear. Katy Perry's historic trip was nothing more than a fancy vacation dressed up as empowerment. The fallout started immediately. News outlets picked up the story, replaying Megyn's takedown over and over. Social media erupted. Tweets, memes, and reaction videos flooded every platform. Some called it the end of Katy Perry's relevance. Others said it was the best TV they'd seen all year. The comments weren't just harsh, they were ruthless. People joked that Katy needed to make space between herself and a camera, and that the only thing she'd inspired was more memes. But the pain didn't stop there. What happened next was even more brutal. Katy's space trip, which was supposed to be a celebration, became a lightning rod for criticism from all sides. People pointed out that she wasn't even the first celebrity to float in zero gravity. Martha Stewart posted, and then deleted, a reminder that she did zero gravity years ago, and she didn't need hashtags or staged photos to prove it. Martha's move was quiet but deadly, reminding everyone that true icons don't need to scream for attention. Even other celebrities joined in. Joe Rogan mocked Katy on his podcast, laughing about her bringing a daisy to space and asking, "What did she even learn up there?" He said her trip was less about breaking barriers and more about looking pretty for Instagram. It wasn't just a roast. It was a full-on demolition job. Katy's meltdown spread far beyond one interview. The more she tried to explain herself, the worse things got. She doubled down on her story, posting videos, giving interviews, and even sharing emotional messages about finding love in the universe. But every time she opened her mouth, people grew more frustrated. They saw her as out of touch, privileged, and desperate to turn a simple joyride into a revolution. Real female astronauts weighed in too. NASA veterans and current space researchers said Katy's stunt made a joke of their work. They pointed out that real space missions involve years of training, scientific experiments, and risking your life for progress. Katy, on the other hand, spent less than 2 days in mission prep, learning how to buckle a seatbelt and speak into a microphone. No real research, no real challenge. Just a luxury ride bought with billionaire money. Media headlines grew more biting. Articles in Rolling Stone, The Guardian, and Business Insider dissected the trip and called it a masterclass in performative activism. They said Katy had missed the point completely. Her trip didn't unite people. It exposed just how far celebrities have drifted from regular folks. The op-eds called her flight the defeat of real empowerment, pointing out that real change comes from sacrifice, not selfies. Jessica Chastain's move said it all. She reposted a scathing op-ed calling Blue Origin's launch the utter defeat of American feminism. No extra words, no hashtags, just a link. It was louder than any speech Katy could make. Even Hollywood insiders, usually quick to defend their own, started to distance themselves. The culture had shifted, and Katy was on the wrong side of it. And then came the environmental backlash. Katy has spent years branding herself as an activist, talking about climate change, green energy, and responsibility. She released songs and gave speeches, urging people to care about the planet. But now, all those words were coming back to haunt her. The Blue Origin launch burned through tons of fuel, sending more carbon into the atmosphere for a 10-minute adventure. Experts broke down the numbers. Her trip used enough fuel to fill a swimming pool, leaving a trail of emissions that clashed with everything she claimed to stand for. Commentators asked, "Where's Greta Thunberg now?" They pointed out the hypocrisy. How could Katy urge fans to fight climate change and then hop on a billionaire's rocket for a joyride? Even children saw through the act. One viral video showed a 6-year-old asking, "Are they real astronauts? Why is their hair so pretty?" The answer was simple. No, they're not astronauts, and it's just a photo shoot, not a mission. The backlash kept growing. Every day more people weighed in. Some called for Katy to apologize. Others demanded she step away from activism altogether. A few PR experts even predicted her career could be over. Eric Schiffer, a respected industry consultant, called her stunt the most expensive ego trip since Madonna's Eurovision disaster. He said Katy should disappear for a year, let the memes die down, and hope people would forget. But the damage was done. The internet never forgets. Meanwhile, Katy's defenders tried to rescue her image. They talked about her good intentions and said critics were just jealous. But even that couldn't stop the flood of memes and jokes. Every move she made was scrutinized. Every quote became a punchline. She posted a selfie, and the comments filled up with rocket emojis and making space jokes. She tried to share her feelings, but people only wanted to roast her. As the days passed, Katy's name kept trending, but for all the wrong reasons. She had become the symbol of celebrity disconnect. Her meltdown was everywhere, on talk shows, late-night TV, and even comedy sketches. Amy Schumer made a viral parody, pretending she got invited to space on a text message, making fun of the zero training and zero relevance. The clip got millions of views in days, adding more fuel to the fire. Everywhere Katy went, the story followed. She couldn't escape it, no matter what she did. She became a meme, not a hero. Her trip, her quotes, her self-important attitude, none of it inspired anyone. Instead, people saw her as the face of everything wrong with Hollywood: performative activism, billionaire worship, and tone-deaf privilege. She wasn't empowering women. She was proving just how far celebrities will go for attention. What made things even worse was the reaction from inside Hollywood. Even the so-called Hollywood leftists, people expected to defend her, turned on her. They said enough was enough. The woke-lash was real. The backlash didn't come from the usual critics, but from her own side. Even progressive outlets wrote scathing pieces, calling out the emptiness of her message and the uselessness of her trip. Every attempt Katy made to repair her image backfired. She tried to pivot, posting about healing the planet and empowering women. But people saw through it. She got accused of using buzzwords, vague emotional language, and trying to rebrand her image without any real substance. The public wanted action, not slogans. They wanted humility, not arrogance. Her old fans, especially Gen Z, turned away. They remembered her defending Dr. Luke during the Kesha abuse scandal and saw this as just another example of Katy playing both sides. The trust was already broken, and now it was shattered. Former fans started calling her the poster child for elite irrelevance. The harshest voices said she didn't come back from space as a hero, just as a walking meme. Even experts outside entertainment weighed in. Aerospace professionals and former astronauts labeled the trip stolen valor. They said calling yourself an astronaut after a short flight was disrespectful to those who spent years training and risking their lives for real missions. They called it a cosmic insult, saying that Katy risked nothing except maybe a smudge on her makeup. Katy's team tried to change the narrative, reminding people of her charity work and past successes. But every effort got drowned out by the memes, the criticism, and the constant replay of her meltdown moment with Megyn Kelly. People joked that the only thing Katy inspired was the world's best collection of reaction gifs. PR experts started using words like career implosion and extinction arc. They said Katy's time in the spotlight might really be over, and that the only way to save herself was to disappear for a while, stop posting, and hope the public would move on. But even that seemed unlikely. The story was just too big. Even her music took a hit. Her recent single, meant to be a feminist anthem, fizzled on the charts. Critics called it tone-deaf and performative, saying Katy had lost touch with what really mattered. Instead of launching a comeback, the song became another reason for people to doubt her. The public was tired of the hype, the staged moments, and the empty words. As the days turned into weeks, the conversation kept shifting. People started to ask bigger questions about celebrity culture. Was this the end of fake activism? Were people finally waking up to the difference between real change and Instagram moments? Katy Perry's meltdown wasn't just her own crisis. It was a wake-up call for the entire industry. In the end, the lesson was simple. You can't fake greatness. You can't buy respect. No matter how rich or famous you are, the world sees through staged heroics and empty gestures. Katy Perry wanted to be a legend. Instead, she became a warning. Now the world is watching. Will Katy recover? Can she change and prove she's more than a meme? Or has her career really reached its end? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and let's see if Katy Perry's next move is a comeback, or just more space between her and the rest of us.